going to go ahead and get started because we have a lot to cover. I'm Mary Stratton. I'm the Director of Marketing at the ACBL. I see a few familiar faces and some folks that I haven't met or had the opportunity to meet before. Hopefully I'll get the opportunity to meet y'all, whether in person or in the future. So I wanted to welcome you all. I'm so glad you all are here. As I mentioned, a couple of housekeeping things. This is being recorded so that we can share this information with those that couldn't make today's webinar. We will send out the link to the recording if you're interested so that you have it and you can go back to any of the material that we cover today. You're here today, hopefully, to learn a little bit about promoting Bridge events on Facebook, primarily. We have asked our friends and partners over at Obsidian Public Relations to take us through this webinar on social media advertising. So I'd like to welcome the team from Obsidian, Christina, Kelly, and Brittany. They will be running today's presentation. A few other things, please stay muted so that we don't get to hear some of the things that might be going around in the background in your homes or lives, dogs, phones, etc. We will definitely open up the lines for questions. If you have questions during the presentation, the lovely Miss Stephanie is going to help us moderate the chat. So please feel free to put questions in the chat during the presentation. If we don't get to them exactly at that point, we will make sure that they get answered when we open up the questions and make sure that Christina, Kelly, myself, Stephanie, that we get those questions answered for you all. This whole thing came about because of suggestions during one of the teacher roundtables and from some of the districts, specifically District 17, that was really interested in understanding how ACBL headquarters and our units and districts, teachers and clubs could be working more collaboratively on social media. So I really appreciate the suggestions, and that's how things like this can come about. So I will also put my email address in the chat. If you ever have thoughts, ideas, or need to contact me, please just shoot me a note. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly and Christina from Obsidian to help run the presentation. We may, just so you know, the team from Obsidian, can you wave? Say hi, Kelly, Christina. Yes, we may turn off videos just to make sure that from bandwidth perspective, et cetera, that we make sure that we can get through the presentation. But I'm really excited and welcome Kelly and Christina and Brittany, and let's go ahead and get started.
Well, I'm Kelly, and if you are watching me, I might be looking up. I have two screens, so you know, if you're watching me, and like Mary mentioned, may turn off my video to protect the flow and make sure I'm not breaking up or anything like that. I work with Christina and Brittany, and I'll let them introduce themselves as well.
Sure. Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everybody. My name is Christina Babu. I am a senior account manager at Obsidian Public Relations located in Memphis, Tennessee. And yeah, we've been working with Mary and the marketing team from the start of the year, and we're here to support you all and ensure that you all are successful in what you're doing and trying to spread the love of Bridge in your community.
Hi there, I'm Brittany Mizell. I'm an account specialist here at Obsidian and on the ACBL team, but very excited for you all to go through this advertising seminar and can't wait to learn it all with you guys and go through it.
Great. So, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're glad to be here. And Kelly put a lot of work into this presentation, and I consider her the Facebook advertising guru or social media in general. And yeah, so we hope you all enjoy what we're about to show you. And Kelly, feel free to take it away.
Okay. Well, my computer is already starting to run its fan, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video here. But I wanted to say first off, I hope that y'all had a chance to read the pre-event documents that we sent over. So if not, it would definitely be helpful to have those open. If you have them, or if you have them printed, whatever works for you. There's some terminology in there that is going to help us as we go on primarily related to things like results and how to look and how to tell if your ad is doing what you want it to do, beyond obviously the real world of signups and things like that to your events. So we'll go to the first slide, which is going to kind of outline our conversation today. So a couple of things that we're going to talk about. First, the business suite / the business manager, which is really kind of going to be home base for you in terms of managing all your ad campaigns and all your spends and your results and your reports and all those things. The types of ads, there are a lot of options. So what we've done today is we're going to break it down into the ones that we recommend for y'all to give you a little bit something to focus on. Third thing we'll talk about is audiences. One of the great benefits of advertising on social media is the ability to pare down your audience to the people most likely to act on what you're asking them to do. Second or third, fourth, if I could talk with words, the ad setup. So we'll run through how this works, how exactly you're going to do this. We're actually going to live set up kind of a fake ad to show you what you might be working with. We'll talk about billing a little bit, since obviously you're going to have to pay for these ads. And then lastly, reporting and evaluating. How do you know if what you did was good? Should you do it again? And if you do, should you change anything? So first slide we'll go to is the business suite / the manager. So this is a screenshot of ACBL's business suite / manager. Consider this like an office. Multiple people can work within it. Each person can have different responsibilities. You can plan out what you're going to post there. You can schedule things when you want them to go out. You can look at how your page is doing, etc. It also holds a lot of the different tools available, just like the ads manager. So consider this like your office. This is where you meet with all your coworkers and do all your work together, even though you might all be working on different things. There's a URL at the bottom of that page there. Commit that to memory. It's also in all the PDFs that we'll share with you. business.facebook.com is where you start. So what's the difference? You notice I said suite / manager. Business manager is required to run ads, at least if you want to run it for your organization. So definitely you're going to start there. Business suite, you'll notice in that screen grab that we showed on the last slide that ACBL's is called business suite. Ultimately, it's the office. It's that page management tool that we talked about. It is also a smartphone app, iPhone, Android, whatever you might be using. You can manage your page through the app as well. Suite is relatively new, which is why they kind of both exist. You might be redirected to the suite. Some pages may not be able to access that yet, but don't worry, you will eventually. And even if you can't, you're still going to be able to do everything that we're talking about today. So let's talk about getting started. The very first thing you need to do, of course, is to set up your business manager. So number one, you got to have a Facebook profile. If you don't use it, then you'll have to build one for yourself to be able to run the ads. Even if you don't intend to use it and you don't want to add any friends or post anything, you don't have to. As long as the account exists, you can use it to run ads. Once you have a personal Facebook profile, that's when you'll start that URL we talked about, business.facebook.com. Type it in your browser. From there, you'll click create account, and then you just follow the prompts. You enter a name for your business, your name, your email address, and submit. And there you go, you've got a business manager. So we're going to talk about ad accounts. So Christina, if you want to click once more, I'm missing some text. There we go. So let's talk about this. Every individual Facebook user, whether you have an account already for yourself or if you're going to create one so that you can run ads, you will personally have an ad account by default, but do not use it to run ads for your organization. It's not illegal or anything, but it does create problems
if you ever wanted to, for example, turn it over to someone else, or allow someone else to participate in your ads program, instead of being tied to the business, it's going to be tied to your individual profile. And that's problematic. I mean, thinking about it in the terms of any other business or organization, if you were doing everything out of your house and you didn't have a professional email address or anything like that, you could never really share it with anyone. So that's that's the same thing here. You want it to all be with the business, not with you as an individual. If you ever had to start a new ad account, you would lose all the things that you had in that personal one. So definitely start with the business from the first time. It is possible that some of you might be running ads for multiple organizations or purposes. Maybe you have a tutoring or teaching business, but you also run ads for your club. You're going to want to make sure those ad accounts are separate, because your club is not paying to run ads for your tutoring business and vice versa. Those need to be individual and separate, same way you wouldn't use the same credit card for purchases for multiple organizations. So that's what making sure that each individual or organization has an ad account for that purpose is really important, and especially if you're running for multiple. So let's talk about the ads manager. So here's a couple of screen grabs as well. So once you start at business.facebook.com, there's going to be a couple of options you'll see on the left-hand side of your screen. And again, we're going to run through this live on my screen in just a little bit. But you're going to see on the left side, there's this long kind of a black menu. I see somebody can't see the screen. There might be a lag, Barbara, on your end with your internet. It should update shortly if it hasn't yet.
Yeah, it may take about 10 seconds. Sorry about that.
But also, the recording should be fine once you look at it later as well. So you'll see that long black menu sort of on the left side. There's an X you'll see on our screen over ads. Don't click that. It doesn't really work the way that Facebook says it should. But if you click all tools, it's circled there on the left, it'll open up this additional menu, that big white one that you see on the right side of the slide right now. You'll want to click Ads Manager, which is also circled. That's really how you're going to get to the full set of tools that you need to run an ad. So let's talk about, we're going to move slides here, some ad terms. So campaigns, you're probably familiar with campaign if you've ever run an ad, any ad agency that runs billboards or newspaper ads or anything like that, you run a campaign. This is pretty much what you're going to focus on. One campaign has one objective or what you want to achieve. So you'll run a campaign to get more people to sign up for tutoring lessons with you, or to get more people to register for a tournament that your club is hosting, or just to get more people to sign up for, whatever at your organization. One campaign, one objective. So another important note, Facebook is going to introduce you to ad sets. They're a little bit more complicated than you need at this point. Facebook's going to prompt you through them. Basically, the ad set is how, when, and where the ads run. But don't worry about that, truly. I defined it here, and we're going to take it through live in a few minutes. So definitely I'll show you what that looks like. But in your mind, don't worry about ad sets. Worry about campaigns. And then ads. Ads are those individual pieces of content, like the link that you want people to click, the message that you want them to get from you. So, okay, so let's talk about the types of ads. There are a lot of options here, but there's two in particular that we really want to focus on for y'all's purposes. So first, reach, that means you're just trying to get your ad in front of as many individuals as possible. And then traffic is the other one that we really want to focus on. That's driving people to your website. So traffic is really the top goal for y'all. If you don't have a website, you know, maybe you're an individual tutoring business or something like that, and you don't necessarily have a website they can go to, Reach would be a good secondary option. But note, you can't choose both of those things. If you select Reach, you cannot select traffic, and vice versa. You'll notice that we've scratched through a couple of those options out there that might sound like they're good. Lead generation is one of those things. Lead generation is really complicated. It requires special software or extra steps to pull. Probably not one we recommend for y'all. Same thing would go for conversions. It requires a lot of technical extra steps. You're gonna need to insert special lines of code into your website. It's complicated and would require some significant tech savvy, or at minimum some tech support from someone who knows how to do it. So skip those for now. Pretty much all the other ones either don't apply or aren't good. Brand awareness is one of those things that we don't recommend. It's just really hard to measure. And Facebook can't even really tell you if they did it or not. So stick to Reach, stick to traffic for now. As you learn more about this platform and how it works for you, you might venture into other things, but for now, let's stick to Reach and traffic. So the next thing I'll kind of give you a heads up on is a special ad category. So if you read the news, you've probably or almost definitely seen that Facebook has come under fire in certain industries for the way that they target people or something like that. They now require people, some people, I should say, to declare what's called a special ad category. This applies to ads that are about credit or employment or housing or social issues and politics. It will almost never apply to anyone on this call. So don't worry about declaring a special ad category. They prompt everyone when you create an ad. It's kind of just one of their things to make sure that they're above board, but you will almost certainly never need to declare one. So let's talk about audiences here. If you want to reach just any audience, just buy a billboard, right? But that's not really any good because not everyone wants to play bridge. In the case of a big tournament, even some people who do play may not need the message. So this is where we talk about targeted audiences. So this can actually help save you money because it's getting your message to the people who are most likely to act on it. So in your case, you want your Learn to Play classes to reach people likely to want to attend a Learn to Play bridge class. You want your tournaments to reach people who already know how to play bridge. And think about it this way, if you run a burger restaurant, you are probably not advertising your all beef patties and selections to vegetarian audiences. So that's the same idea. You want to only pay to get your message in front of people who will act on it. That's what a targeted audience can help you do. So there's several audience types on Facebook, and we're going to have a post-event handout for y'all that has a lot more information on those. But for now, when you're just starting out, there's two primary audience types that we're going to talk about. So first, listed on this slide is the curated audience. This is when you select parameters. You say, I want people who live in this area, who are this age and interested in these things. Facebook's going to find users who fit those criteria. That's a curated audience. The other type is a custom audience. So there's a couple of options here, but the most relevant to you would be maybe people who have ever responded to one of your Facebook events, people who already follow or have previously interacted with your page, or a list of your existing members, past members, guests, students, etc. We'll go through this, of course, on this when you're sharing my screen and I'm doing it live, but in more tools in the Business Manager, you'll select audiences, then just follow the prompts once you create. There's also a lot of links in the post-training materials that we'll talk about, you'll receive after this call. So once you have that custom audience, it's important to note that Facebook will not, for privacy reasons, tell you the specific size of your audience or exactly who's in it. They will tell you if they believe the group is too narrow to run an ad. So let's say that you are uploading a custom list of your guest members from your club because you want them to consider playing a tournament or joining as full members, and you just go through the prompts. You'll upload a spreadsheet. You might have 300 guest members on your list. Facebook won't tell you that, hey, we matched 100 of them. You won't know that. They'll just tell you it's ready. And the way that they match is through things like, you know, when you have a Facebook account, you have to put in your email address to sign up. If you have my email address, Facebook will match my profile and I'll see the ad. That's how that works. So let's talk a little bit more about curated audiences on our next slide. So there's several ways that you can target here. So the first way is geography. That's a really obvious one for pretty much everyone on this call, because even a tournament is, you don't necessarily need to reach someone in Oregon if you are in North Carolina. You want people who are relatively close to where you are. Facebook will default to between 25 and 50 miles of your city, but that's adjustable. That radius probably works pretty well for something like a multi-week learn to play class. You might have to expand it or want to expand it if maybe you're promoting a tournament that will draw people from farther away. But there's still, it's still a pretty unlikely circumstance that most of the people on this call would ever need like a nationwide audience. So you'll definitely want to pay attention to your geography to make sure that the people seeing your ad are going to be able to act on it. So interest, Facebook has a lot of interest options that you can select. So everything from card games to music to foods, but be careful. If you select multiple interests, let's say you select card games and cooking, you will end up with people in your audience who like card games or cooking. So it's really helpful to use the narrow feature if you have maybe some sort of tangentially relevant interests, but we'll talk about that when we get to the Q&A and when we get to the live setup. I'll show you exactly how that works. So gender, that may not matter that much for you. Maybe if you're hosting something like a girls' night out, maybe you would want to target women. But for the most part, you probably won't narrow down by gender. Age is an interesting one. ACBL has made an effort to reach people younger than what we might consider, quote, the typical bridge player. So for the learn to play classes, maybe you're targeting people in their 40s or 50s. Note that Facebook will not target anyone younger than 18. And even if you want to target older people, 65 plus is as high as the age options go. Anyone older than 65 is altogether. Life events, that's one of the demographic things you can target. One demographic group we've discussed with ACBL is what you might consider an empty nester. So the rationale behind that is that bridge games take time. It takes a lot of time to learn. If you're targeting people with toddler age children, they probably won't join. They may not have the hours to spend to learn to play the game or then eventually to play. But if you target people with children who are older, those people might be more interested in adopting a new hobby and or have the time to do that. There are other indicators as well. You know a lot about your players and about who your prospects are, really. So you might be able to curate an audience based on things your current members have in common. So for example, are your members or your prospects or the people who play bridge with you more likely to have a 4-year degree? If they are, you can target people by education level, but remember to narrow it, which we'll talk about when I'm doing that live setup. Do your members tend to be financially minded? because you can target people by job title or industry. There's a lot of options within the platform to browse, so you can get a good idea of maybe what would fit best for you. And you can always troubleshoot as you go. We'll talk about this as we move on, but there's always an opportunity to look at your ad. If it's not performing the way you want, you can pause it, adjust it, start it again. So there are a few limitations with the audiences. Facebook, we kind of alluded to this earlier, has come under fire for some of its targeting options. So the way that you target might change. Several have been removed. Curated audiences, for example, several years ago, we used to be able to target by income level. Now, income is an option, but it's limited to things like the top 5% of zip codes by wealth in the United States. So, especially for local advertising, it's a little bit less useful. I saw a comment in the chat that one of the districts was interested in national advertising. In that case, this might be kind of helpful if there's an income level that may help you narrow your audience. But just keep that in mind. Some of the ways that you might want to target may or may not be available. You'll just have to look through what Facebook has available for you. Okay, so let's talk about setting up ads. So I mentioned this earlier. Facebook will throw out the term ad sets. Do not worry about it. Stick to the campaigns. One campaign at a time, a new campaign for every objective. Make sure, unless you have a special circumstance like I saw in the chat, that every campaign you run has a geographic target. Even when you want to reach people nationwide, you're going to want to make sure that it is United States only, for example. You don't want to be paying for reach in the United Kingdom and be wasting your money. So geog for certain is your top priority when you're creating an ad. And then placement. So Facebook will default to what's called automatic placements. There is an option for manual and custom placements. Don't click it. Just let Facebook run it automatically. Manual placements are for people who are super advanced. They're running lots of ads, multiple sets, varying types of creative. You want it to be as simple as possible. Let Facebook automatically place it. If your ad is eligible for some place, it will run there. And that includes Instagram, whether or not you have a page. Facebook is going to look anywhere it can to find your target audience. So they will, if the person is eligible based on what you've looked for, they will see the ad. So budget. Typically, we recommend budgets with a start and end date. That way you're making sure that your spend spreads out over the course of several days or weeks with a daily spend. It is possible to run with a lifetime budget, but it might exhaust in a few days. Typically what we say is spend at least $5 per day on your ads. And remember that, and Stephanie can speak to this if we get to it in the Q&A, ACBL has a reimbursement opportunity if you meet certain criteria with your campaigns. So we can certainly say that for the Q&A, but I would say $5 a day is a good starting point. You can go as high as you want to, really, but the way that we would typically run it is, let's say, considering your timeline, how long you need might depend on your total budget, but consider what you want people to do with these ads. So if you're advertising a tournament with a specific registration deadline, you need to give people enough time to see the tournament, to work out whether they can attend on those dates and in that location, and not also to register before that deadline. So consider that. So let's say that your deadline is November 15th, today. I would probably want to run the ads at least by the 3rd or 4th week of October, because your deadline is the middle of November. So let's say you've got $100 to spend. That would work well at $5 a day. You could run that for 20 days. So if you started it at late October, you could run it all the way to today at $5 a day, and you would max out. And keep in mind too that Facebook will only charge you for the results that you get. So if they don't find enough people to see your campaign one day to meet your maximum daily budget, you just won't pay the full daily budget. Most of the time they will be able to find some people, but it's really good for being very efficient with your advertising budget. So messaging and creative content wise, and we'll go through this in just a second. When we talk about creative, we're talking about the picture that you're going to be using. We want to make sure that it's going to grab people's attention. One image is fine. So we can also do multiple images if you've got several, like if you have a flyer for your Learn to Play class, or just for your tutoring business, and you also want to put up, you know, a picture of you teaching someone live that someone took for you, you can run multiple, that's fine. Then just follow the steps to add your message to the post. If you have a link, you can put it in. Facebook will allow you to see what your ad will look like. This is what it looks like to people using a desktop or a laptop. This is what it looks to people using their phones. And then when you're ready, hit publish. So Facebook does have a waiting period, giving them a chance to review your ad and approve it to make sure it meets their policies. So I mentioned this just a second ago, but you'll be charged for your results. Not just because you said, I'll pay $5 today. They won't just charge you $5. So when I mentioned that if your ad's not delivering or something like that, let's say that you submit your ad for review, and you wanted it, I submitted it at noon on Monday the 15th for review, and I wanted it to start running at noon on the 15th. Well, it won't start running right away. Let's say it takes until 10 a.m. tomorrow to start running because it just takes Facebook that long to approve it. I won't be charged for Monday the 15th when it wasn't running. I'm only going to be charged once people start to see it. So that's what it means. Like, they're not going to just charge you for every day that you said you wanted it up, even if it's not. And putting that in the terms of traditional advertising, think about it like if you bought an ad in a newspaper, and the newspaper didn't get delivered that week, maybe their printer got backed up or something like that. Well, you would not expect to be charged for them to run it the next week when they do deliver the paper, right? Same idea. Your charges will pause if you ever stop your ad or if it's not running yet or whatever. So we'll talk about reporting and evaluating, and then we'll move into the actual setup demonstration. So these are some screenshots that we've done with, this is a real campaign. We just kind of took out the identifying information. But anytime that the same way that we talked about getting to the ads manager, start at business.facebook.com, go to the ads manager, it will show you all of your campaign's progress. Just make sure, and I'll show you all this when we open up the ads manager, that you're selecting the appropriate date range, which is at the top right. If you have the wrong date selected, it might look like your ad has no results. So just make sure you're looking at the right dates. So let's talk about the word results. So my computer has stopped screaming at me, so I'm gonna start my video again, see if that helps. But the word results depends on your campaign objective. So if you selected traffic because you want people to come to your website and register for your tournament, then a result is a link click. How many people clicked your website link and went to the place that you want them to go? If you selected reach as your goal, then the number of individual people who saw your ad, one person is one result. So remember that this was in the pre-event terminology sheet that we sent out, but reach is the number of individuals. Impressions is the total number of times that someone saw it. So I am one reach, but if I see it 3 times, that's 1 reach, 3 impressions. So those things are separate. So the cost per result is generally how you can kind of get an apples to apples comparison of the different campaign goals that you've set. So a great cost per result is less than $1. But that is heavily dependent on the objective. It's really like a reach ad where one result is one person saw it is typically a pretty low cost per result. Something with a higher bar might cost a little more, but truly don't rely on these metrics alone to tell you if your campaign was successful. Consider it a piece of the puzzle. So, you know, if you're looking at your real world results, like your tournament attendance, to determine if they helped you or not, because you can always look at the last time you did this before you were running social media ads and after. There might be, you know, obviously before is probably pre-pandemic, which changes things, but look at it as a piece, like I said, a piece of the puzzle. So the other important note is that these audiences are digital. They learn, they get better. The more you run ads and the longer you run them, Facebook wants you to be successful because that keeps you coming back and spending money with them. So they will try to make the audience better. They will show ads to people more likely to click on them or more likely to share them or whatever they want. So your first ads are probably going to have a higher cost per result until you and your audiences get better. So whether that means you figure out, maybe I need to adjust the time frame that I'm running these ads, maybe I need to change the way I've targeted my audience, maybe I can change my message, you will get better and so will your audience. And you will start to see that cost per result tick down as that happens. So a couple of other terms that you might see on this slide. Frequency is the number of times on average that each individual saw the ad. So if you're looking on this screen, the frequency of this particular campaign was 8.37. So the average person who saw the ad saw it about 8 times. And you know, for some things, it just depends on your goal as to how high or low you hope for that to be. But I wouldn't put a firm number on what is good for frequency. It's just a metric for you to understand. An important note about billing is that at first, your billing threshold is pretty low. It's typically $25, which means that when you first start to run ads, Facebook is going to charge your credit card for every $25 that you spent. So if you run a $5 a day ad for 20 days, you're going to get your first charge after just 5 days because they will charge you at $25. The longer you run ads, you kind of build credit with Facebook. You pay your bill, they say, oh, this person's good for the money, and they will increase it. So eventually, if you're running ads regularly, you might only be billed every 30 days or at the end of a campaign run, just depending on how high your threshold gets. You know, Christina and I run ads a lot, and for our clients who run them pretty regularly, sometimes we have hundreds of dollars worth of credit with Facebook that they'll let us run before we get charged. So, all right, Christina, if you want to stop sharing, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about, or we're going to show, let me say, all right, we're going to show the ads manager. So I'm looking up at my second screen, so now I'm not looking at y'all anymore, but this is the business manager. So you'll see we're here in the business suite. So I know there was a comment earlier about someone not being able to see. So this is my live screen, so you'll be able to see it as I'm moving through. So this is what you see if you get to business.facebook.com. This is the main menu. So let's scroll down here. So remember, do not click this. It's going to wind up pulling in the wrong thing. It doesn't usually work the way it's supposed to. So we'll go to all tools. And once I click all tools, you'll see here's all my options within the business manager. I'm going to scroll down here to under the advertise section, the ads manager. This is where you're going to see all your stuff. This is where you can look at the campaigns you ran before to see how they did. You can look at what's running now to see how it's doing. You can create new ads. You can set up your audiences. It's home base for all things advertising. So we'll come in here and you'll see when I first come up in here, when it loads, there's going to be a green button that says create. And I'm going to click on the create right here. So I clicked on create. So you'll see here's all your campaign objective options. Remember that we only want to do reach or traffic. Again, there's some resources in the post-event PDF that you'll get. You can do some extra training classes and things as you advance and start to really be comfortable with this platform that you might dabble in other ones. But for now, let's talk about reach and traffic. So I'm going to set up a traffic ad for this. So once you select, it'll give you the option to name your campaign. I definitely suggest doing that. It'll help you keep everything separate. So I'm going to advertise a Memphis Bridge Tournament, December 2021. Okay, so I've named it. Here we have those other terms we talked about. Don't worry about them. Just name your campaign for now. And then we'll hit continue. So this is the setup kind of wizard is what I'll call it. It will prompt you through everything. You don't have to remember every word I've said as long as you can remember the key points, because it will prompt you through every bit of your setup. So remember, I've named my campaign. There's a lot of stuff on the screen. Don't pay attention unless we've talked about it, because it's gonna get confusing if you start trying to click and everything. So I'm gonna pass up the special ad categories. I don't need that. And then I'm not looking at any of this stuff, not looking at any of this. Okay, all I did, I'm gonna hit next. I didn't need anything on that page. So this is the part where I tell where and what I want it to do. So where do I want to drive traffic? To my website, right? So leave that selected, ignore all that other stuff that you see on my screen. And then come down here to budget. So let's say my campaign, my deadline to register for my December Bridge Tournament is December 4th. So let's see, that's a Saturday. I want to give people enough time to see my tournament, to figure out if they can come, and to decide to register all before December 4th. So I think I want to start it running maybe this Thursday. Then you can choose your times. I usually like to take advantage of the full 24 hours that are in a day, knowing that just like with the placements, Facebook is going to show it to eligible people. And if my eligible person is awake at 1:30 in the morning and they're on Facebook, I want them seeing my ad. So I usually like to change this to 12 o'clock a.m. Mine defaults to Central Time. Yours, if you are in Pacific Time, may default to Pacific, and so forth. I always 100% advise that you set an end date to your campaign. My fictional tournament, the deadline to register is December 4th, so I'm going to end it on the 3rd. And I'm going to take advantage of my full 24 hours, so I'm going to change it to 11:59 p.m. So it's going to run all 24 hours of every day between the 18th and the 3rd. It will default to $20 a day. You can start small and move up. You can go with the default if that works with your budget. So I'm going to go to $5 a day. And you'll notice that over here, Facebook is giving me some estimated daily results. I'm going to scroll down so you can see it. So my goal is traffic, link clicks. So they're saying for $5 a day, I might see somewhere between 11 and 42 link clicks. It's a pretty big gap, right? That's because it's an estimate. Facebook is not guaranteeing me at least 11 clicks per day. They're just saying we think, based on what we know so far, that you'll see around that number. The reach, I can expect that somewhere between 555 and 1,600 people will see it per day. Remember, these are daily results. And they'll explain it to you here if you click the I for information there. So right now, you know, my audience size is pretty huge. So let's go down and narrow that down a bit. Because right now I'm targeting everyone in the whole United States between ages 18 and 65. Well, that's, you know, somewhere between 258 million and 279 million people. I don't need to pay for all those people. They're not all relevant to my bridge tournament in Memphis. So let's start with creating a new audience. So if you have uploaded a custom list or something, this is where you would find that. You can search for your existing audiences. So you'll see that like we've uploaded guest members in the past for ACBL. That's where your custom audiences will live. But let's curate one for now. So I'm going to start by narrowing down my geography because my Memphis tournament does not need to reach everyone in the whole United States. So I'm going to remove that right there. So I'm gonna do Memphis. And it's gonna take a while. Okay, there we go. So Memphis, Tennessee. It's defaulting to 25 miles from Memphis. So here's my radius. Well, my tournament is probably gonna attract people from beyond that. So I think I wanna make that a wider radius. So I'm gonna increase that. I can go up to 50 miles away from Memphis. So now look at how far I got. Okay, well, I think that's good. I can add another city. Well, I think that people might be willing to drive up to 2 hours to come to my tournament. So I'm gonna add Oxford, Mississippi. Okay. Oh, see, I got a little bit of overlap there. That's pretty good. I can zoom out on my map. But also, there's a tournament in Little Rock the same day. So I don't want to waste my money, people from Little Rock who aren't going to come to my tournament. So I'm going to come up here and exclude people from Little Rock. So I'm going to maximize that to 50 miles from Little Rock. That way I don't waste money on people who are probably not going to drive 2 hours when they have a local tournament. They can play that same day. So there's my geography. I don't need to worry about the age because I'm looking for really anybody, and I'm gonna go from there. I don't really care if they're male or female. And then, so you can, all right. This is where you go for the detail, the interests, things like that. So I'm gonna edit that because right now they're looking for just anybody who lives within that geography I just defined. So this is where you can browse. See right here? So I can look and see what all my options are. So let me start with, I'm gonna start with people who are interested in card games. I'm not really sure where to find that, so I'm just gonna type it in here and see what I can find. So, there we go, okay. So see, there's all these options. So I don't even know what some of these things are. I know tarot cards are very different than bridge. And I know Digimon is something that my nephew plays. So I'm gonna select general card games for now. Okay, but let's say, I like card games, but I also want maybe people with adult children to try to get into that younger prospect demographic. So I don't want people who like card games or have adult children. So let me narrow my audience right here. So I'm gonna browse for people who have children who are, look, there's the parents. I want people who have teenage children or adult children because I don't think toddler parents like myself are gonna take the time to play bridge. So, and then let's see. maybe I can target Bridge. Let's see if there's anybody interested in Bridge. Yeah, so we can do this. Well, we don't want to choose London Bridge. That's not relevant. Or the Golden Gate Bridge. Let's choose Bridge. So with the way that this is set up, Facebook is warning me that I might not get any clicks. So I might want to change. So maybe I need to add more people to my audience. So let's cut out the parents. Let's see how we do. Oh, there we go. It made my audience much bigger. Okay, so I got people interested in Bridge and card games. Let's narrow it again. Let's see if we can find people who have four-year college degrees, because I think that's going to look like a lot of the people who play Bridge. So I'm going to click college grad. And look, it shrank my audience to a very manageable size of about 50,000 people, but it's not too small to run an ad. So I think we just did it. So we can do that. We can then choose to save this audience. So I can name it Memphis Bridge Prospects 2021. And I can save it. So then if you run an ad again and you want to use that same audience, then when you go up here, sorry, where my audiences are. When you go up here, you can click use a saved audience and you'll see it. So there's my audience. Here's my estimated daily results. For $5 a day, I'm going to reach between 300 and 800 people and between 2 and 13 million clicks. You can kind of play with the budget a little bit if you want to and see how that might change. Like, let's make it $15 a day. Oh, look, it shot up a lot. Can I afford that? Can I afford to double my impact? Maybe. Maybe not. So I'm going to leave it at $15 because I really like what it did there and I can afford it. This is the placement, let it automatically place. So once you set up kind of where and who you want to see your ad, then you'll click next. And this is where you're going to start building with your images or your links and things like that. So some of you might have multiple Facebook pages that you are in charge of. Maybe you have your tutoring business, maybe you have the district, maybe you have your Bridge Club. You'll select it here. See, I have lots of pages on mine. I'm gonna obviously select ACBL here. Instagram, it will automatically prompt you for this, but make sure you can just leave it alone. If you don't have an Instagram account, don't worry about it. It'll still run an ad there, but you don't have to do anything extra. So this is where you want to create your ad. So let's start with a single image or video. A carousel would be if you have multiple images. And I would not worry about the collection at this point. That's kind of advanced. I would get there later. Or the instant experience. Don't worry about that yet. So this is where you put in all your stuff. So let's add an image. So I already have lots of images set up here. If you want to add a new one, you can just do it here, upload, and take it from your computer. If you see some of them have this little exclamation point right here, it's because some images, if they're too small, they will look bad. And Facebook's kind of warning you, hey, we can try this, but it might not run everywhere it's eligible, and people might not be able to see it, and they might not like it because they won't be able to really see the picture as well as they should. So that happens if you do something like scan in a picture, it's not going to be high quality enough to use. So make sure that you're using images that are good. If you've taken the picture, even if it's like on an iPhone, that's going to be pretty good quality, and you'll be able to use it without any issues. So I'm going to select this face-to-face bridge image here. It's going to give me an option. See that it doesn't look good in all the placements. So it's going to be the option to do some cropping. So look, I'm going to crop this. And look, it's so easy. I just move it over. I'm going to apply. Now look how good it looks. It's not cutting off the words. So, so this is what it looks like. in some placements, and this is what it looks like in others, and here's what it looks like on that right column if you're on a desktop. So I'm going to click next. You can just click yes on this. It's just Facebook kind of doing you a digital favor, making your pictures look good if they need a little help. So right here is where you see your ad previews. So this is what it looks like in a news feed. But look, this is what it looks like in Instagram. This is what it looks like. You know, here you can look at all your placements, right? And then some places it's maybe not eligible. That's okay. Don't worry about it. It'll show to as many people as it can. Here's some more. It'll show you what it looks like. You can look at all of these options right here, okay? So this is where you put the text. So I'm gonna scroll up to the news feed because I wanna see how that looks. So this is the post text. So I can say, join the Memphis Bridge Club's December tournament. Register by December 4th. Okay, so that's what that'll say. Best practice, keep that short. If you ever scroll your Facebook feed and see ads with really long text and you have to click read more, people scroll pretty fast on Facebook, so you want to make sure that your ad is able to get all of the text to them. My headline, this is what shows up down here on the link preview. So my headline is going to say sign up now. This part also shows up, and I'll show you in just a second. It'll say bridge players from across the Mid-South join for a competitive event. Real short, real simple. Attract people to your event. Then this is where you're going to put what you want to do. So my website URL is acbl.org. You'll want to obviously put in the one that makes sense for you. If you want to make sure it works, because maybe you just set up this event page or something like that, you can preview it using this button. It'll just pull it up in a new window and show you how it loads. Let's say that you have an event page, but it's really long and complicated. You can actually change how it looks. So I want mine to show up in all caps. So when I scroll down here, see it shows up like this right here in the way that I wrote it in that section, the display link. They also have these call to action buttons. So right now it's learn more. Every ad defaults to learn more. But you can also change things here. There's a sign up option. So if you're running a tournament or a learn to play class or something like that, that makes sense, you can change it. You can hit book now. You know, if you're having a tournament and you've got a block of hotel rooms and you're advertising that, you can hit book now. There's all kind of options in there. So I'm going to change mine to sign up because it's for a bridge tournament. And then everything else, don't worry about that. That's for the very technical IT side of things. So you look, I like the way my ad looks. I fixed my picture so it looks good in all my placements. It saved all the edits. Well, I'm not going to publish it because we don't actually want to run this ad, but that's what you would click next to submit that. I'm going to click back, which if, let's say you set up this ad, but you want someone else to look at it just to make sure it's right, click back. Facebook is not going to like that. They're going to want you to, I'm going to X out. They're going to want me to publish it. They're going to try to get me to. They're going to say, hey, we saved it, but it's not running. Publish it. If you're not ready to publish it, don't. I'm just going to close that out. So I told y'all I would show you this. This is the section where you make sure you have your dates set so you can check your results. At any given time, you can check your results here. So I've got mine for maximum, just the lifetime of it. But let's say I wanted to look at just last week. So it'll put last week. You can choose your dates. Just make sure you're looking at the right dates, or it'll look like you have no results. And then you'll see in here, this ad's not running, but that's where it would show you the results. And the schedule and the amount sent. If ever you're looking at it and you think, this is not working the way I like it to, or maybe, hey, I was trying to get signups for my Learn to Play class, but it's full. I need to stop the ad. You just toggle it off, turn it off, and it'll stop. You don't have to do anything else. If people drop out and you got more spots, you can always start it again. It's totally up to you. So I'm gonna stop sharing now, and I'm gonna let Christina put her her slides back up, so we can start with the questions.
Yes. Were people going to raise their hands to ask questions, or Stephanie, were you kind of? We were kind of looking at the comments too. And
yeah, I've been tracking a few. I've got a list of them, and then if people want to raise their hands, they can do that as well. But I can read you what we've got so far.
Sure, yeah, let's go for it.
I had someone question that said when they've tried to do an ad before, they get a message that says not delivering, and they wanted to know what that meant and why they would get that message.
The short answer is it depends.
It's hard to, without any information.
Yeah. Without knowing exactly the situation there, I would say let me preface this. If you read the pre-training, then you know that there's a whole section on how Facebook does not have customer service. So there is what's called a support inbox, which if you go to your Facebook profile and click on the top right, the question mark, you can get to it. And that's where they report back. Like if you've ever reported an inappropriate post, or if you report like a duplicate profile because you got hacked or something like that, they will message you there. And so if you ever have an ad decline, for many reasons, like Facebook might have forced your ad to stop because they think it belongs in a special ad category. It's a robot reading your ads. And so sometimes they might pick up on a term and say, oh, this is about employment, but it's not. In that case, if you get notified, which they should send you an email and they should send you a notification on Facebook as well, you can resubmit it to ask a human to look at that. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, oh, sorry about that, and they'll restart it.
I'll give you a silly example, and you guys as bridge players might appreciate it. So let's say you were running an ad maybe last year and you were, hey, I want to talk about no Trump. Well, Facebook might have thought that was political in nature and pulled your ad, right? So, I mean, we know that that's not what it meant, but it could have been taken out of context by a robot and then put it in the political category. So there's things like that then you might get alerted on, so to speak.
So sometimes there's an error, to Mary's point, because robots don't understand that might be a legitimate bridge term. And so if your ad is manually forced to stop by the platform, you can resubmit it, and you can usually include an explanation. I had one running one time where the website was wrong. We had an error on the tech side that the website went down, and they said it doesn't go anywhere. You can't run this ad. So I resubmitted and I said there was a tech error on our side. I'm sorry. Please look at it again. And they approved it and it started running. So if they decline you again, it will almost always come with a more specific explanation, in your support inbox. Otherwise, it might just be an error with like your budget. Maybe your credit card was expired, or your credit card declined the charge from Facebook. There's any number of errors. It should, though, as you're going through your setup, it'll usually have that red exclamation point somewhere if you're missing something. Like maybe you didn't put in your budget, or maybe you didn't put in any ad creative or something like that. There's usually a problem, and it might just be in one of those very small steps.
All right, so another question was, when Kelly says see the ad, does that mean it's just on the feed? Someone is scrolling through when they're on Facebook?
There's lots of different placements. So we went through some of those examples and showing you what it would look like. But let me, I'm gonna show y'all on my screen. So I pulled up my Facebook feed just now. Okay, so this came up. See this? Oh, well, I'm blurred. Let's see if it'll do it. There you go. So you see all these kids. Well, I have 3 kids. So I've been getting a ton of ads lately for things my kids might want for Christmas. And so in this case, Mukako thinks that I should buy this table for them. That's 1 reach. They just got 1 reach from me and 1 impression because I just saw that ad. But that includes the news feed. It also includes the right column. If you ever watch videos on Facebook and you see ads pop up in the middle, that's one. Any place that someone can see it.
Okay. Someone asked, is there a way to track robot clicks? Is that a problem on Facebook?
Does it exist? Yes. Can you do anything about it? No. It is not, in my experience, a big enough problem for me to abandon the platform. To me, I worry a lot more about that when, like someone who wants me to pay them for a post because they have all this reach. I worry about that a lot more than I would on something like this, because especially if you have something you want them to do. So if you want them to go to your website to register for the tournament, a bot's never going to register for the tournament.
Someone asked how long the average person looks at an ad.
It's fast.
So 3 seconds now, is that the statistic?
That's for videos. So
For videos, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna hop in because I knew like 3 seconds for billboard ads, so I was curious on how that translated to Facebook
Faster.
ads.
Faster.
Yeah, especially if you're on your phone, just scrolling.
So that Mukako ad, they just got like 5 seconds out of me because I showed it to y'all. But they typically, for a video, and think about how you use Facebook. The video, they consider a good view would be 3 seconds or longer. 10 seconds is fantastic, and probably means someone's going to stick with you if they watch your video for 10 seconds. For images or most things, you're talking about maybe 1 or 2 seconds at most. That's why you need your post to be short and you want your image to be really good. Don't post I would never recommend that you post a flyer as your creative for your ad. Let's say you're a tutor and you want to attract more students that you can teach to play bridge. Don't post an 8.5 by 11 flyer that has all the details on it, because people are going to scroll right past that and glaze over it. What you want is, you saw that image that I posted when we were kind of walking through that ad. It was a very simple message. It was face-to-face bridges back. If I can hook them with that little short thing, then I can maybe get them to read and click. Like, if I advertise to y'all, you'd say, oh, I can play face-to-face bridge again, and then click, I gotcha. But if I tried to say, after a very long 1.5 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we were all separated and we had to play on Zoom, then, we're so excited that we can be back together again, and please join us for face-to-face. But would y'all read all that? No, I wouldn't.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Yep. No, that was it. So that short, sweet.
Okay. Someone asked how to create an ad account. Is that covered in the post?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a link with a tutorial in that post event PDF that you're going to get.
And the same thing on custom list. Is there a link on how to load a custom list?
Yes. I can give you the nutshell really quick. Is that you're going to start with a spreadsheet, and you'll just upload it. There's a prompt within Facebook, but there's some links on that post event as well. Facebook will walk you through everything. The reason I wanted to show y'all kind of setting up an ad is Facebook is always going to try to get you to do more, because the more committed you are to their platform, the more they can make. right, when you run ads. So they have all these resources and stuff for now when you're learning campaigns, ads, traffic reach. Those are the big things that you need to know. The one thing, this is in the post-event document, but I want to say it because it's so important. Facebook is always going to suggest to you when you make a post on your page, hey, would you like to boost this post? Do not click boost post on your organic content. If you click boost post, your audience targeting options are severely limited. You will basically be paying to reach anyone who is anyone within like 25 miles of your location. Always go through the ads manager.
Okay. All right, we've got a couple people who've raised their hand. Robert is first. So Robert, if you want to unmute.
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a couple different questions. I'm a bridge teacher, and I basically want to get a feel for what kinds of results, if Stephanie or Mary, maybe you can answer this, have you seen from teachers getting students with Facebook ads? And then second question is, what do you feel is sort of the best call to action that might be appropriate in terms of where you direct them to? For me, it's the phone. If I get people on the phone, you know, I can really talk to them about what their needs are. If I just get them to my website, you know, they kind of disappear and they may not take any action. So those are the two questions I have. So Mary and Stephanie.
Let me answer the second one first, because I was actually going to talk about that when Kelly was using acbl.org as an example. Okay. If you're specifically driving for, let's say, registering for online classes, you want to make sure that that URL or link is going directly to your registration page and not just to your website. So there's things like that you need to be thinking through, either when you're setting up your event, you're setting up your registration page. If I'm just driving people to my site, I'm not knocking Kelly's setup there, but really we would probably have a landing page with or a registration link for that specific thing. So I'm not sending them somewhere general, I'm sending them somewhere really specific. So one of the things that Kelly was showing is the reach, or if you saw one of the selections that, you know, we said go to website, but you could say go to phone call, and it would prompt the phone, a phone number coming up to have them call you directly. So some of that is a little trial and error. This is stuff that we are diving into at ACBL right now. Obviously, we're still dealing with pandemic time, etc. And we don't run obviously all the teachers' web pages, etc. So that's I don't have the best answer for you for the first one, but we are seeing either online event signups. We are looking at how to load lists and do targeting ourselves so that we can experiment and get better. Just as Kelly was saying, the more that we do this, the better that we get and the more reach that we have with the audiences we're looking for. So hopefully some of it is going to be a little trial and error. This was an opportunity for us to share with you ways that maybe you could get your feet wet and try it. You saw how you could kind of, based on your budget and what you were looking for, if two clicks a day isn't enough and isn't what you need to do, then you either have to shorten your time or you have to increase your budget and or decide if the platform and the way you're advertising is really, if the budget meets the end goal. So I don't know if that helped, but we're getting there.
and we can add more to that. You know, just again, as Mary said, you know, it is a marathon, not a race. So Facebook is continually learning about who your targets are, who are the type of people that are engaging with you. And so in addition to clicking on your ads or, you know, watching your video, Also, a phone number is an option as well, but you can also prompt people to send a direct message to you. That's also an option. There was a website, phone, and direct message. You can do that because you don't want people calling you at 1 a.m. either. You don't. If it's a toll-free number, cool and all, but if it's your personal cell, you don't want that. So I think a direct message could also be a good way. It's the same as if someone shot you an email if they saw you elsewhere. So that could be an option as well.
Yeah, one more quick question. When setting up the ads, there's a number of demographic characteristics that you can select from. Has anybody at ACBL identified what's the magic ingredients to a successful Facebook ad in terms of like targeting it to certain age groups? I mean, the average ACBL member is like, 60-something years old. So, that would be an obvious click on that Facebook manager, but are there other characteristics that you found to be successful?
Sure. So I think we're actively looking at that. We're looking at the demographics of our members and the demographics of what we feel are potential prospects. So let's say our average age is 65 plus for our members. Just as we were talking about earlier, we might scale that down to 50 to 65 plus, because if it's a new intro to bridge class or a learn to play, we want somebody a little bit younger than our demographic, and some of the other parameters that Kelly was discussing earlier. We think they're most likely empty nesters. They might have a higher level of education. So those are things that we're looking at too. Obviously, right now, we're still navigating, just like all of you, the return to face-to-face bridge and supporting both online as well as face-to-face. And so some of the stuff that we're doing, we know that we might not have gotten the same results 18 months to 24 months ago. We might have increased attendance by 5 or 10%, whereas right now, we're just doing some things to support actually either returning to face-to-face or learning, et cetera. So it really goes back to when Kelly was talking about what your campaign objectives is. And for us right now, some of our campaign objectives are a little bit different than some of the things that we shared with you all, but it's either reach and visibility or link signups. And so we're making adjustments on some of our ads too. There was another question, and I wanted to answer it too. And Robert, if you have additional questions, I'm happy to try and answer them. We are working on new creative that we can share with units, districts. I know there's a lot of different folks on the call, teachers, et cetera, for our Facebook ads. So some of those, stay tuned, they're coming. We do have, I know Stephanie posted a link, a library of photography and other things that can be used as well, but hopefully we'll build up a little library of assets that you all will be able to use and take advantage of.
Yeah. Okay, so Sam, you want to unmute?
Yeah, I really appreciate this. I'm a teacher in addition to owning my own club, and I've tried over the past couple of years before COVID, when I was doing face-to-face classes, to use Facebook to drive people to my beginner classes, and I never had any success. I mean, I had success with my classes from word of mouth and my email list, but never any real success from Facebook. And I've learned today that I've been doing everything wrong. Everything you said don't do, that's what I was doing. That helps. So I guess sort of my question is, if I was going to try this again, say for a March beginner class, start running it, I guess, around January, sort of, would you recommend, and I don't know if you know, but would you recommend a picture of people playing bridge and then, you know, the tagline, learn to play bridge, or just like just learn to play bridge on a banner as opposed to a picture of people playing bridge?
Sure. I think pictures of people will definitely help, and especially people looking like they're having fun. You know, anything that is going to be eye or attention grabbing. As Kelly said, I keep it real short. Learn to play with friends, and then, you know, sign up or, you know, learn more if you're really directing for signups, I would use that very specific call to action. The other thing that you said that was really interesting, and I think this isn't just for teachers on the call right now, your email list, your current students, those are the type of list that you may want to upload into Facebook, because while you might not be targeting your current students, it will give Facebook a good idea if you're trying to find a lookalike audience. Who are like these people that are attending my classes, who are already engaged? Like, so there's ways to use, and that doesn't mean you don't use your email list to say to folks in conjunction with your Facebook ads, hey, refer a friend, you know, as part of your email newsletter, et cetera, because some of the things that you just talked about work the same way digitally on Facebook as you would say, hey, I'd really like to invite my friend to come and share this or have this experience. So those lists that you have or have developed, those still are really important. That's a lot of information that you can share with Facebook that helps understand the audience in your area or who you currently teach, that then they can find other people that look like those folks.
So
I got you.
let me tag on to what Mary said. So first, let me go back to what you said, where how you get a lot of people in your classes through word of mouth. They're taking a personal recommendation from, you know, my aunt plays bridge, and so she might want my mom to come with her one day, you know, and so you get a lot of that kind of stuff. Well, I would encourage you to, first of all, of course, have those people share it, but what are they saying to the people who do wind up coming? Are they saying, come play with me, it's so fun? Are they saying, hey, this keeps my mind really sharp? Are they saying, you know, what gets someone to the class? Do you know? Because that might help you come up with the words for your ad.
I think my clientele, mostly it's fun. It's something fun to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's empty nesters, it's elderly people, and it keeps them busy. It's something to do.
Yeah. So some of your content, you know, is come make a fun new hobby, or come learn a fun new hobby. You know, my mama and her husband love to go dancing, and so if you advertise like a dance at the Baptist Church in Dry Prong, Louisiana, Mama's on Facebook all the time. She could see it, and she and Charles are gonna go. You know, and so just tapping into those interests, that's the real big value in targeting. And to Mary's point about lookalike audiences, that is relatively advanced, but there's in that post document that you're going to get, there's a lot of links in there for additional training courses you can take through Facebook, and they are enormously valuable once you learn how to use them. You can create a custom audience of people who like your page or have interacted with your page, and then ask Facebook to find people who look like that. Christina and I have had great success giving an audience like that time to learn. You know, give it a few months, run it for a few months, and as it gets better, your results will get better.
Yeah. So some of this, as you all can imagine, you know, is limited in our time and scope, but we wanted to be able to share with you all some of what we considered the basics, and also in working with Obsidian, try and narrow it down for you all so that it's not so scary. But there's a lot going on, but hopefully this will help. And some of it, you know, try. I know that there were a few messages in the chat from Brett, you know, about whether Facebook is really the right platform for you as a teacher or a unit or a district. Is that really workable? It might not be, but if your email lists aren't performing as well, or BBO ads aren't quite working for you the same way that they used to, this is an opportunity. And we just, I know that it also came up, I mean, ACBL does do co-op advertising for ads that meet our criteria. And so there's opportunity for us to help you out with some of your ad costs too. We wanted to give you all some alternatives to maybe traditional print advertising and other things that you've maybe been doing in the past. Hopefully that will allow you to dip your toes in a little bit and try some other things. And you know, I can't promise you that it's going to work, but it is a different way to approach.
Let me reiterate too that, I mean, we've said it at least 2 or 3 times. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Start by getting your toes wet in the ad platform. Learn how to use it, learn a couple things. As you get more comfortable with it, you'll get more comfortable with the ideas of what you can do to expand. And that post-training document is going to have a lot of options for you if you decide that you want to go that route.
So someone else, I think Liz asked if Facebook played a part in our beginner bridge classes. Similar to you all, we did do some Facebook ads, but we saw more success utilizing our email lists and getting some referrals, Sam, to your point. But we did make the Facebook ads a component. So we use that so we could get reach and engagement and get visibility for those classes. But we found some of the other avenues got more potential signups. It's still something that we're looking at, especially as, like, and Sam, I'm not picking on you by any means. I just thought it was a really good example. It is that over time, I might not be able to keep going back to that email list well and keep having it deliver at the same rate that it was delivering before. So that's where we're trying to make sure that we've got a few other things in the mix so that as maybe the results from one go down and I've now built up, again, as Kelly was saying, built up that experience in Facebook, I'm starting to see better results over time. It's not something that's going to happen on a one-off basis. So we're looking at it longer term.
I think it's also really important to remember what the barrier to entry is here. You know, bridge, it's not something that they're going to learn in an hour. And so sometimes you know, you saw that screenshot that we had showing the frequency of 8.37, where the average person who saw that ad saw it 8 times. That's not a bad thing with something that's relatively complicated to learn like bridge. You know, sometimes especially if you're kind of trying to get people back who have lapsed or who have been guest members but not committed to really playing a lot, that you think about it the way that we talked about a restaurant. You know, we talked about targeting, how you wouldn't advertise all beef burgers to vegetarians. You know, sometimes you got to get in front of people a few times before they take an action, especially a big action like committing to a learn to play class that's going to take several weeks. So